Hello, our wonderful L2L demonstrators. We wanted to make a video for you, and this video is going to be kind of informal, but we wanted to
Very informal.
Very informal. But we wanted to address a couple of things. So I'm Kip from the L2L team.
My name's Jessica, and I'm also on the L2L team.
And I'm John, and surprise, I'm on the L2L team too.
So yeah, we're going to talk about a few things, and specifically we've seen some comments on Facebook and on the L2L blog that we're going to address today. So I'll let John go ahead and start.
Okay, so one question that we've seen come up a few times, both on the blog and on Facebook, is regarding the sloping of the plate when it's in the hinge. So we just wanted to talk about that a little bit and why we designed the tool that way and why we kind of made that choice. You'll notice that when you put the hinge in and you don't have anything on it, that it does slope down towards the base. And the way we did that is that we wanted the tool to be open on two sides here. And this is a metric tool, obviously. And if we had a bump either on the base or on the plate to have it go parallel to the base, then it would have limited the two-sided feature that we wanted. Similarly, if we had kind of a ridge here to keep it parallel on the plate, it would limit the amount of stamping surface we had. So the way we designed the hinges is that the further away from the hinge you get, the less pressure you need to apply to get a good stamped image. So the further here you are, the clearer the image. And the way we designed it is that if you go in and you put in a piece of paper to account for that distance, and you put in a stamp on the plate, that what you get is a parallel to the base here. So I'm going to be a little creepy and get close so that you can see, but it allows for a horizontal surface there. So that way, wherever you're stamping, if you put the stamp here, then you're parallel here, and the same even if it's close to the corner. So that's how the tool was designed. It allows for a lot of versatility with how you're using the tool, but that is why the slope is there. It's not overlooked or anything else. It's to allow ease of stamping anywhere on the product, as well as having those two open sides. I think that covers everything. Is there anything that I missed? Okay.
So, and while we're talking about the design process, I just wanted to go over all of the different pieces of the tool that we had to consider when designing. So every component of the Stamparatus has different height specifications that we look at. So for example, the plate is a certain height, the foam is a certain density or squishiness, it's also a certain height. The hinge has a particular height, the base has a particular height, and then we also looked at the durability of all the materials. We wanted something that would last a long time, that would be substantial, so we considered materials for all these things as well. And all of that comes into play when it comes to your stamping experience due to manufacturing processes, which I'm going to turn the time back over to John and talk about this because he is our sourcing and development expert.
Correct. I'm the person on the team.
Expert.
Okay. So when you get into a mass production setting with a tool like this, you're going to run into tolerances. And what that means is that when you are making 5 to 10 of these, you can control them very specifically on the thicknesses of the plastic and how everything looks cosmetically. But when you go into producing 10 to 20,000 or 20 to 30,000, you're going to have different constraints on how much time it would take to look at all of those things specifically. So what that means is that when you create the product, you have to create tolerances of acceptability. So you would call out the exact thickness you want and then allow for a tolerance a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller. And so that goes for the plates, that applies to the base, to this insert. We have a metal sheet that's inserted below this grid to allow the product to be magnetic. So that has a tolerance, the foam has a tolerance. even our stamps and paper have tolerances. So what that means is that as we are going through all of these products and all of these pieces in the mass production setting, as we designed them, we had to accommodate for some of those tolerances. So that means that as you look at these different products and you're stamping, occasionally, you know, one of the stamps doesn't quite work as well as you'd like, and that can be a matter of just tolerances. It might be, you know, you have different pieces that are all on the low end of tolerance, or maybe you have a stamp set that's slightly outside of tolerance at the low end. Things like that. Those are just things that we have to consider as we think about a tool like this in a mass production setting. It's quite complex as you look at all of the different components and how they're made separately and then assembled together to work in the way that we designed it to.
Yeah, so John has done a great job of explaining the design of the tool. And so some of the questions we've been getting on Facebook and the blog are specifically about the corner of the tool, stamping directly in the corner of the tool. And like you said, that could be due to tolerances. We also want you to know that we've done extensive testing in the design phase of the tool, in the manufacturing stage of the tool, and we're still continuing to do some testing about the corner in different places in the tool. So we're doing lots of things to give you the best stamping experience that we can. And
just to add to that, as we do testing, because as I said, we have so many tolerances and it is so complex with how it works together, we're still, as odd as it sounds, we're still discovering things about this tool, and that's what's fun about it, is you know, as you get it into mass production and as people start to use it, you kind of explore the tool and you learn about it and you kind of get surprised.
Well, and on that note, we've really enjoyed seeing all of your comments and ideas on how to best use the Stamparatus. We've been looking at different videos that you've been posting, and we're really appreciative of all the tips you've been sharing, and there were a few in particular that stood out to us that we would like to share that could help everyone when they're stamping with the Stamparatus. So I have a few things here to talk about. One thing unique about the Stamparatus, due to the design, is there is only one right corner on it, and we know that it's really nice to bump your paper up into the corner of the tool. What we found is nice, and what other demonstrators have found too, is to create what I call a bumper. It's just a piece of cardstock with a right angle, and you can position this anywhere on your tool to create another right angle when you're stamping. So I just did one, it's an inch in distance all the way around. You could bump it up here, you can bump it down here in the corner. And then what I like to do is hold it in place with magnets, and this is another tip. If you wrap the magnets in washi, it can help protect the magnets if they accidentally clash together, but they also allow you to pick them up more easily. So on this one, for example, I just put a little tab on it, and it makes it easy to pick it up. On this one, we wrapped it a little bit more just for that added protection, but then left a tab on the top. So if you use these to keep your bumper in place, then all of a sudden I have another angle that I can, you know, put my project on, let's see, this way, when stamping for easy alignment. So that's a great tip. And another thing that I don't know if we've mentioned yet, we have found that it's hard when your paper is right up against the hinge because our stamp cases are so large. You oftentimes ink the hinge instead of inking the stamp, and so you have to redo your project a few times. So that's just something else to be mindful of when you're stamping really close to the hinge, is make sure you're stamping your stamped image and being mindful of the hinge as well.
Mm-hmm. So that kind of brings us around to magnets a little bit. We have seen some questions on magnets and how we chose these magnets and why, and that kind of those sorts of questions, I guess. We will have more information coming out later this month that have more details for you, but we can give you a little preview, I guess, or a small tidbit of information just to help you. So these are rare earth magnets, as we've said, and the reason we chose them is for their strength. It's standard in the industry for this type of product to have these rare earth magnets. We needed something that would be able to get through the foam that we have attached, to get through paper. This product has to be used for DSP all the way through, you know, watercolor paper and thick whisper white and all of those things. And so, and whatever else, whatever other materials you guys are stamping on. And so we wanted to make sure that we had a very strong magnet that could get through all of that. That's kind of why we landed on this magnet. And again, this type of rare earth magnet is standard for the industry for this type of product. Again, look for a further update on that with more details later this month. But we wanted to share that with you in this video, even though it's a little informal and it's not translated and all of those things, just so that you had that information. And then later this month, you'll get more details. But we did want to let you know that we are hearing you and we are looking into selling these magnets separately outside of just the Stamparatus unit.
So we just want to thank you guys so much for your comments and your feedback and your collaboration as part of the L2L team so far. And we want to remind you that the best place to leave comments and feedback is on the L2L blog. Facebook is a great place to share tips and to kind of share some projects you're making, but any feedback or concerns are best handled on the blog because we're able to check the blog and respond quickly to your comments. And we do go through and read the comments and try to respond as quickly as we can. So thanks so much for all that you guys do.
Yeah, and just lastly, we know we shared a lot of information, and we'll be translating a script of what we talked about. And as soon as we get the translations back on that, we'll share it to help with everyone who maybe isn't as comfortable with English. And I think that is it for today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.